Hey, how's it going, everybody? I wanted to talk about something that I consider to be one of the more important topics that I don't think is often looked at or discussed. I also would consider it, like, when I'm thinking about it, it's one of the harder things to actually look at in ourselves. So I was struck by this quote by Krishnamurti. He was, I guess you could say, just an intellectual, spiritual teacher in the 60s, and I think he died in the 80s. Yeah, the quote that he discussed or that I found was, so he says, "War is the spectacular and bloody projection of our everyday living." So he's not the first one to talk about this. I've heard Kendrick Lamar. I don't know, in our pop culture, some of the more deeper individuals in our society. Kendrick Lamar, and I don't know if anyone knows Julian Casablancas. I have a lot of respect for him and his perspective and his art. So yeah, they all say that, or not just they all say, yeah, but those are like two famous examples of people in our culture saying the same thing. They're reflecting the same exact concept, that our mind state and the way in which we experience our lives, our internal world projects violence. So a more simple way of saying that is that the way in which we live within ourselves, if we live in conflict within ourselves, we're going to see external conflict. This isn't some sort of esoteric thing. It's very applicable. If I'm divided within myself, if I'm not fully integrated, if I don't love myself, or that's one way of going about this, trying to love yourself more. If I don't love myself, eventually down the line that's going to create conflict externally. And then at the high, that's low level, I might argue with my spouse or my friend. But at the high level, because I'm lacking self-awareness, I'm lacking a lot of aspects that would help me otherwise avoid conflict and have a more peaceful resolution, and at the source, at the initial crux of it, it's really just being at peace with yourself, which is extremely rare in this world. Very few people are actually at peace with themselves. And by the way, I think I'm making sense here, but I haven't written like a script or anything. I probably will for the next video, because this is a very important topic to me, and I believe to just to have this out there on some level, I hope people actually see this. So the thing is that I lost my train of thought. I'll just say this: when we're conflicted within ourselves, we're going to see conflict externally. Now I remember what I was saying. So at the low level, it's conflict between each other. At the high level, it becomes conflict between countries and world leaders and our tribes. And when we can't live with ourselves, it's hard for us to live with each other. So people, they just kind of push aside like the looking inside of ourselves. All the smartest, wisest people. I'm sure Einstein, he was one of the wisest people out there. I mean, but if you read his words, not only was he an intellectual, but he was a extremely wise man. And I'm not sure if he said this, but I wouldn't be surprised if individuals such as him, because wisdom is universal, so I wouldn't be surprised if he said like something to the same effect of how we must look inside of ourselves. All the answers are inside. Because I'm sure that's how, if you look into how he kind of came to his conclusions with his great works, it was always looking inside. It was always, that's where it started. He would, in the way he describes how he discovered, all like his theories, he would like imagine himself on a motorcycle driving through, like at the speed of light, and how matter would affect him. So anyway, that I'm just explaining his perspective on life, and how he used his internal realizations to create some sort of external expression of that through his work, through his science. So really, our society in general, I would say Western society, but human beings in general, lack or missing the capacity. Well, maybe they're not missing the capacity, but they're not utilizing the capacity to look inside themselves for answers, for healing, for reality, for betterment. We externalize. We want to experience ourselves through an image. Let me repeat that again. We want to experience ourselves through an image? Why do you think people try to make their lives look so great on Instagram, but in reality, they're not happy? They're just pretending to be happy through an image, and they believe that through that image, they can somehow create some sort of happiness. On a minor level, I don't know if people have done this, but if you put like, this isn't always the case, you might actually be genuinely sharing something, but if you put like some sort of wise quote or something that you know, like some sort of, yeah, like phrase or something. I've noticed I have this tendency a long time ago, but I noticed like anytime we have this tendency to sort of project something like through our social media, it's usually because we feel like we lack that, and that through that image we're going to gain it. So that's a whole nother topic too that I could go into, about how social media is a sort of a projection of ourselves, and actually I probably will make another video about that. But yeah, essentially the point is that violence and strife in our society, it's an internal thing. So what are the solutions to this? Well, individually, we have to start cultivating self-awareness. So like, you know, like meditation has been talked about a lot. You know, meditation is very useful because it instead of constantly being in the jumble of our lives, we actually take some time to reflect on our internal lives, and just take time in our day to be contemplative every day. Take just some time, however that looks for you. And I would say try a variety of different methods of just being contemplative, watching your thoughts, seeing the habits you have, and just you know, where you're harming yourself, how you can even better your, like kind of break those habits. That you'd be surprised the way, like the complexity of these things, and then even the simplicity of the things that you've just been living for all these years. And like you could have just looked at yourself and like just through your awareness, just pretty much just anyone who has awareness of these things, no sane, I don't know how to phrase this. I wouldn't say no sane person, but like people who have self-awareness generally would not act out certain habits that we tend to act out. And in general, I would say another big aspect of this quote, I probably should have said it earlier, is the idea that when we label people mentally, I think Krishnamurti actually said this other quote too, but maybe this should be another video, but maybe I'll make it another video too. But when we label people mentally, when we say you're black, you're white, you're gay, you're straight, I don't know, whatever label we have, you're Mexican, you're blah 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 blah, I don't know. There's a million things. You're a slut, you're you know, I don't know. There's a lot of things we could say. You deaden that person to a label. You no longer see the human being behind the label. You only see the label that your mind has projected onto them through the word. So then by projecting that word on them, you no longer see the human being, and so then you're able to commit all sorts of violence on them. And he, you know, again, Krishnamurti is not the only guy who said this. There's lots of people or not lots of people, actually, I would say lots of wise people who have seen this, who have actually like they can see this way of sort of deadening things, you know, or you know, that's just an animal. I don't know, you know, like we just do whatever we want to animals, or you know, I mean, I'm not like I don't know, yeah, I don't want to get, I know people are sensitive about that to some degree, but anyway, so through our labeling, through our way of perceiving life, we are that's the essence of violence. And like some people, we got to be careful with this, because then we could become radical about this and be like, we have to end this, we have to end violence through ourselves, and we can like punish people. And like that, we've tried that through communism and other religious ideology. It's not going to work in that way. You have to be tender and kind to yourself, and each individual, we can help each other through that process, but we can't push people, we can't punish people for that. That our society has a tendency throughout history, not just recently, but recently I've noticed this especially, but throughout our entire history as human beings, you know, you look at how people have treated each other, we tend to have this sort of thing of like, if the community has sort of a high mind, and we sort of punish each other. So that's also something that would be valuable to self-reflect. And again, another video, I'm actually going to look through this, and I have like 3 video ideas at least. So yeah, there's probably a lot more I could say about this, but I appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate your time. I really enjoy doing this. So if you want to see more, support me by not by money, but by liking, subscribing, and sharing this content with your friends and family and whoever else you think would be interested in this. So take care, be well, much love, and I'll see you next time. All right, bye.